Hello everyone, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Nabila Urrahmah and this is Nesha Wafanasla. She will talk about the second conditional and this is Nurul Huda. She will talk about past modal verbs of probability tense. And this is Muhammad Khairi Lutfi. He will talk about modal verbs of probability in the present and future tense. And Abizia Ul Jabbar, he will talk about the zero conditional. Then Shakira, she will talk about the second conditional, and last one is Wiwik Septiara. She will talk about the third conditional. Based on the question below Mrs. Rafika gave us, discuss the following question with your group, then make a slideshow presentation video to explain your answer. Include various examples and dialogue to explain your point. How do we use modal verbs to express probability in the present, future, and past? How do we use different ways to make sentence with if? Today, we're going to talk about two different things. The first one is modal verbs of probability in the present, future, and past, and the last one is about if conditional sentence. Okay, so let's start with probability in the present, future, and past. In English, we know a type of auxiliary verb called modal. Modal are generally used to express the speaker's attitude towards something. Is it needed, suggested, allowed, might happen, and so on. And probability is likely something to happen. We can use these modal verbs, also called modals of deduction, speculation, or certainty. When we want to make a guess about something, we choose the verbs depending on how sure we are. So, what is modal verbs? The dictionary defines it as an auxiliary verbs that express probability in the necessity. They are also commonly used with other verbs to help express things like possibility, ability, obligation, belief, and more.
Modal verbs of probability express a guess or suggestion. Here are some common present modal auxiliary verbs. Modal verb of probability are can plus infinitive. The meaning is I'm sure, this isn't so. Might, the meaning is maybe. Could, the meaning is maybe. May, the meaning is maybe. Must, the meaning is I'm pretty sure this is true. Should, the meaning is this is probably true.
Modal verb of probability in the past. We can also use modal verb to speculate on what might have happened in the past. We generally do this by adding have and a past participle to modal verb. For answer guesses, we would use the following formula: modals plus have plus past participle. For example, let's say you can find the leftover cheeseburger from last night's meal in the refrigerator. Here are some speculative statements about why it is not there. The examples are: 1. I must have left the cheeseburger on the counter. 2. The cat might have eaten. 3. I could have forgotten my phone at the restaurant. 4. My wife may have taken it to work. 5. I can have finished it in my sleep. Now see how this creates the perfect tense. The main verb following have is in the past participle.
Modal verbs of probability in the present and future. We often wonder what is happening to cause a present situation to exist. One way we express this curiosity is to use the verbs must, might, could, may, or can't, followed by an infinitive. These verbs express a range of certainty, with must and can't used for solid guesses, and the rest falling in the middle as possibilities. For example, imagine that you wonder why it seems so hot in your apartment. Here are some speculative statements about that. The example. First, the air conditioning must be working. 2. The air conditioner might need more time to work. 3. We could be experiencing a blackout. 4. It may be too hot for this air conditioner to work. 5. It can't be imagining that it's too hot.
So, when talking about the present or the future, modals are followed by the bare infinitive form. But when talking about the past, modals are followed by the have and the past participle verb form. And this pattern is true for many of the modal verbs that we'll talk about today. The next is if conditional sentence. Making conditional sentence is an everyday part of your native language, and introducing them to your English conversation can really improve your level of communication. A conditional sentence is based on the word if. There are always two parts of conditional sentence. One part beginning with if to describe a possible situation, and the second part which describe the consequence. For example, if it rains, we'll get wet. We can also invert the two parts of conditional sentence so that the if part comes second, and this is especially common in question. The example is, how can you finish the project if you don't have a computer? There are four types of conditional sentence. The first one is zero conditional, then the first conditional, second conditional, and the last one is the third conditional. Let's look at each conditional to show how we use them.
Zero conditional. We use the zero conditional to talk about permanent truths, such as scientific facts and general habits. The zero conditional is also called the factual or the real conditional because we use it to talk about truth and fact, things that are real in this world. We also use it to talk about habits, rules, and to give interaction that are the result of something else happening first. So, in other words, if this happened, then this is the result. The example are 1. If I walk out, I feel healthier. 2. If it's cold, like the fire. 3. If you eat a lot, put on weight. 4. If I'm tired, I go to bed early. The formula is if plus present simple, comma present simple.
Can you see how in all of these examples that two separate parts of the sentence are connected? We're stating a fact or a truth in the main clause, but it's only possible on the condition that the if clause occurs. So now we know that zero conditional is factual or the real conditional.
First conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about a realistic situation in the present or future. It's also called the possible conditional. Now we're not talking about facts anymore, but now we're talking about possible future results. They might happen, but they might not happen as well. We can use it to talk about prediction, supposition, plan, promises, offer, suggestion, and warning. So all of this talk about what is likely happen in the future. If this thing happen, then this will likely happen. It will probably happen. Example, if you don't eat now, you'll be hungry later. If she doesn't call, I'll be annoyed. If they're hungry, I'll make some sandwiches. If he studied hard, he'll do well in the exam. Formula if plus present simple, comma present future.
Second conditional. We use the second conditional to talk about improbable or impossible situation in the present or future. We also use it when we want to imagine that the present situation is different. There are lots of different uses for the second conditional. We use it to give advice, to give reason why we can't do something, and generally just imagine that life is different. The example are, if I got sick, I would go to the doctor. If I had more money, I would buy a boat. If she saw a snake, she'd be terrified. If I were rich, I'd spend all my time traveling. The formula is if plus past simple, comma would or could plus verb infinitive.
Third conditional. We use the third conditional to talk about impossible situations. As in the second conditional in the past, we often use the third conditional to describe regrets. The third conditional is the past unreal conditional. We use this structure to imagine a different past. Just to be clear, the meaning of this sentence is the if clause didn't actually happen but we're imagining the result if the past was different. We're not talking about what actually happened, we're talking about what could have happened in the past but didn't, and what I would have done if that had happened. For example, 1. If we had looked at the weather report, we would have stayed home. 2. If I had known you were visiting, I would have made time to see you. 3. If I hadn't learned English, I wouldn't have got this job. 4. If we had left earlier, we would have arrived on time. The formula is if plus past perfect, comma, would or could have plus past participle.
So we can take a conclusion for our presentation about modal verbs of probability in the present, future, and past. When talking about present and future, modals are followed by the bare infinitive form, but when talking about the past, modals are followed by have. And for the if conditional, there are 4 types to use if conditional in the sentence. The first one is zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, and the last one is third conditional. This is it from us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.